Still haven't got an intro, but today's video is going to be about sustainability in fashion. After I've done a little bit of research, there's three main problems with the way clothes are being made at the moment, right? The first one is that they're being made on such a large scale that you can't basically track how ethically an item of clothing is being made. The second thing with that is that when the clothes aren't being worn, they're being destroyed. And the final issue, which I think is like the biggest issue, is like child labor. Yeah, so those are the three main issues. So I just want to spend the rest of this video just basically talking about them in a little bit more detail and what you can do to kind of solve them. The supply chain for just one item of clothing is so long that like even just a t-shirt, like, you know, just like to go from cotton to one t-shirt, that cotton's got to be grown, picked, like it's got to be milled, dyed, you know, and then sewn, made into a t-shirt, shipped, and then shipped to you. So, you know, there's so many steps in just making a t-shirt that, like, if you think about like more complex pieces like jackets, jeans, you know, when leather starts getting involved, it becomes a bit too difficult just to literally figure out where your clothes are actually coming from. And I think like it's literally like impossible to say with any certainty that any item of clothing is not made with some degree of like child labor or slave labor, or just not like in an ethical manner. So if you look at Burberry, for example, I remember Burberry were in the news a couple years ago because they basically destroyed like £39 million worth of goods just because they didn't want anyone else to have them at a lower price. And it's basically just destroyed so many items of clothing that could have been used to clothe anybody, just somebody, instead of being wasted. And that's basically just then making it so there's no benefit to like all of the environmental issues that have come from making the item of clothing in the first place. Like nobody even wears it in the end. The issue is that like any item of clothing that you buy, even if you buy it from a large company, it's very, very unlikely that you can trust that company. You know, take Nike for example. It's one of the biggest companies in the world. If they told you tomorrow that they weren't that they no longer used child labor or like slave labor like they do in, I believe that like, a lot of their stuff is made in like Indonesia as well. If Nike told you that all their stuff is made in a sustainable way, would you even believe it? Like, you know, they could tell you that, but you know, there's no way to prove it. They have no reason to not lie to you. You know, there's nothing that you can do to fact check Nike, and they can basically exploit that. What I wanted to talk about as well was this one really interesting article that I read, and it was a CNN article, and it's basically that the United States basically banned all cotton made in the Xinjiang region in China, and that's the I believe that's the area where Muslim Chinese people are basically being used to and being exploited to make clothing. And you know, it's one move, and it's kind of it is a good move, but I think, you know, even if they just do it for that one region, the problem still remains. You know, just going back to what I said before about making a white t-shirt, one plain t-shirt, you know, what's going to stop China from sending all that cotton to another place in China, that company then packaging it and distributing it to America under a different name? And then the question that arises is like, what can you do? You know, like if you know that your clothes are made in a way that you can't change the way they're made, right? And you know that they're going to be made in an unethical way, what can you really do about it to actually like help solve the problem? Unless you're purchasing from a company that has an interest in being as transparent as possible, and you can actually trust that company, you have no way of knowing where your clothes actually come from, right? So I think Asker is a good company in the sense that they basically tell you every single stage of your garment, where it's come from, and you know, even down to the yarn quality on the garment. There's one thing that I wanted to suggest to people was this database called Good On You. Now basically the website is like a searchable database, and it has like loads of different clothing brands on there, and like ratings for each brand, that they've done their own independent research on that brand. And you know, they highlight their use of animal products and how like environmentally friendly their materials are, as well as like the working conditions for their staff members. And you know, a lot of brands, they do a good job of hiding that, so to have that somewhere that you can look at is, I think, is quite a good thing. And you know, if you can buy from any company and know that like with some degree what you're buying is made in a more ethical way, then if you do need to buy anything new, at least you know you're buying it from a good place. Okay, yeah, so that's basically the video. If you have any comments, please leave it down below. I will answer every single comment, and you know, basically just like any ideas that people might have for making your clothing more sustainable, and you know, making sure that your clothes come from an ethical place. But yeah, anyway, that's the video. If you like it, like it. If you want to comment, comment, and if you want to subscribe, subscribe. All right, peace.